welcome to Seeking Heaven and the Near-Death Experience and Other Phenomena. I'm your host, Tamara Caulder Richardson, a 6-time near-death experiencer and evidential psychic medium. And if you haven't watched any of our episodes, please do subscribe, hit the bell so you can get the alerts, and like and make comments. All that is very much so appreciated. And thanks for helping this channel grow. So I am super excited about our guest tonight. Very just full of wisdom, a lot of fun. We have a special guest, and it would be Marilynn Hughes. I'm going to bring her on in just a minute, but I'm going to talk a little bit about her. She is a mystic, which I love that because I consider myself a mystic too, among many things. But she is also a mystic. She is the director and the founder of the Out of Body Travel Foundation. She has numerous books, 104 books in the area of astral travel, as well as mysticism. And we're going to talk about all this. She's been in 40 magazines. She's got 18 CDs out. And she just informed me that she just released a 2-part series. It was a documentary film called At the Feet of the Masters. She has been doing this a long time, since 1987, and she's been on numerous radio and television shows. So today we have her on the Seeking Heaven channel. So welcome, Marilynn.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be with you, Tamara. It's great to be here.
I know. You're my kind of person. We love talking about all these different things. And we were just making a comment and having a laugh before we started this, that She has Mother Mary. I've got my Jesus here. And
I've got Jesus too. I've got a Sacred Heart over there. I think we have a lot of similar interests that we've been sharing. So yeah, we've had a great wrap before the show. So
the pre-show was good stuff. So so that's why part of, at some point when membership, maybe I'll offer, pre-show stuff, but it's good stuff. So we went over our love for the Trinity and so forth. So wow, where do I start with you? You are one of the most fascinating people that I have come across, and such a delight. And you've written so many books and has produced so much stuff. I feel bad about not getting my one book out, Love from Heaven. And I'm like, okay, yeah, right. You need to get on this, because after seeing all the ones that, 104 books, I thought you were going to be about 104 years old, because I'm thinking it must have taken you that long. And I'm like, you're young. You're young. When did you start? When you were 12?
Well, I started writing when I was 22. I had my first actual out-of-body experience when I was 9. And then, they actually started again when I was 22. And then I started journaling about them. And so it was from that process of journaling that the books began. I believe my first book was then published when I was around 27 or 28. It was 1991 and 1992 with Hampton Roads Publishing. And then I ended up starting the Out of Body Travel Foundation in 2003, ironically at the suggestion of my previous publisher, because they felt that I had a unique niche, and they were right on, because from the very beginning, the Out of Body Travel Foundation was right up there, holding that spot, because of the fact that we are kind of unique, and we do have a unique little niche in the corner where we kind of occupy, talking about out-of-body travel and following that journey. And so, I did start writing those books. Writing about 1987 is when I started writing them. And so, yes, 104 strong now.
And you haven't stopped. Really, I'm just so shocked to be so young, how much you've done. And I was like, this must be a really young picture of her, because I know she's probably 90 years old now. Because of all the work that you've done, man. You just knock it out, and not including all the workshops. So before we get into all the really cool, the workshops and the books and so forth that you've been working on, I wanted to first go into, how did this all start? How did you start spiritually awakening?
Well, from the very beginnings, when I was young, I always had a deep love for Christ. So that was always present, even though, even in my childhood, the people that surrounded me didn't necessarily have that. I actually, came from a family of origin that was primarily kind of atheistic, even though we did practice some faith rituals. They were primarily just to do it, not because anyone believed it except for me. My father kind of held some of those beliefs, and I guess in some respects he would be the one that would be credited with some of that faith that originated. But when I was 9 years old is when I had this life-altering experience, and I was lying in bed and had this magnificent out-of-body experience where literally the clouds billowed open, and the thunderous, the kinds of things you read about in biblical prophecy, where clouds are billowing and the thunderous uprising of the heavens. It was like that. It was so like that. And then there was a marble staircase that appeared from earth to heaven, and on either side of that marble staircase, it was lined with angels, hundreds of angels on each side. And at the top of the staircase, there were two beings, and there were two golden thrones. And there was an old man with the white hair and the long white beard. They were both wearing long white robes. And there was the younger man with the darker hair and the beard and all that. Yeah. And at the time, I perceived them to be God the Father and God the Son. Mm-hmm. Whether or not that was given to me in that way, because that is something I would understand at the age of 9. Right. I leave that to God. That's that may have been how it was given to me, so I would understand. But I was instructed to come forward up those steps, and every step that I took up those marble steps, and I think you'll understand this, Tamara, from our conversation earlier, I know you will, every one of those steps, it was like a vibration apart. Everyone was taking a higher vibration towards this throne of God. And so, it was like, you think of these continually billowing, thunderous clouds. It's continuing all around, the angels on each side. And every step you take towards and up, the vibrations are increasing by hundreds of thousands of times. It was so powerful.
Well, it almost sounds like you're walking on musical notes, like a xylophone, like that it's getting higher and higher pitched.
But it was so much more than that.
Oh gosh. Wow.
It was so much more than that, but there is a correlation that can be made for sure to that. Mm-hmm. And then, and then the experience was so intense, because then I was taken into like a vision within a vision. Okay. Where I was shown how my future would unfold. And I was shown that there would be a great deal of turmoil in my life. There would be difficulties and things I would have to overcome, but the cross would stand tall. And the fire would not consume the cross. And that I had a purpose that would become known to me later in life that had something to do with this whole event, this huge out-of-body experience. And that I was going to go through a lot of suffering and tribulation, even in my youth and my growing up years, which I did, but that at some point, this purpose would be revealed to me, and I had to fulfill it. And I remember it was so powerful. I woke up like, as you can imagine, you know, like even how they describe it, even in Old Testament texts, when, you know, as you can imagine, you know, when someone returns, like an Enoch or an Elijah, or I'm not comparing myself to them, just to the experience of it, you know, or even, you know, a Samuel or a Jeremiah and he saw God. It was like that, you know, so you're like lying in bed and you're like, so, oh my God, I just saw God. And, you know, whether or not you were seeing the actual Godhead at that moment is not the relevant factor. It was this majestic awareness of this greater reality that had come upon you, and this purpose beyond yourself, which had now informed and filled you. And I was 9 years old.
Yeah. I mean, what did you say? And were you, I know you said you came from basically roughly an atheist type family that probably didn't discuss this kind of stuff. So were you in your prayers? What did you ask for? How did this, like the setup of this, were you saying, hey, God, are you real? Let me know. How did this
I was always praying. I prayed a lot. I did a lot of my prayers because at the time when I was growing up, I was raised in a Mormon, like I said, sort of Mormon household, because my father was the one who was Mormon. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And so my prayers were very conversational with Jesus. So you have to remember, I'm a child. I'm not years old. So I would be talking to Jesus. I could talk to him for hours. And when I would go to bed at night, I might have a 2-hour prayer time with Jesus, you know? So my prayers now might be very different because I became Catholic in the year 2000. So there's a different prayer life that has emerged from becoming Catholic. But when I was growing up, my prayer life would have been more of this conversational with Christ prayer life. I do remember when I came back from this experience, I was just in awe and kind of like walking on clouds for like a couple of weeks. And I do recall, God bless my mother, you know, but I went to go see my mom. I wanted to tell her so bad. But my mom, you know, my mom was just like, my mother had a German accent. She was originally from Germany. She was an immigrant. She's like, you stop telling those lies. You know?
Oh my gosh,
and she was so bad, you know, and you know, ironically and this was part of what the tribulations, the difficulties would be, because generally she never believed any of this. She thought I was lying about it all. And generally, you know, I don't really know what the rest of my family members believe. They don't believe in mysticism. Whether they thought I was just making it all up, I don't know. But they don't believe in it. You know what I mean? So,
well, they haven't probably experienced it, maybe.
No, probably not.
I think to believe, you need to experience things.
Well, you don't always. You know, that's the view. That's the view of Thomas. But you know, when I had this experience, I believed in Christ, and I believed in the experiences of Elijah and of Enoch, who walked with God, and of all the Old Testament prophets, and of Samuel and Jeremiah. I was reading my little children's Bible, but I believed in the experiences of these others. And we have to remember how Christ was so clear about, blessed are you, Thomas, because you have seen and thus believed, but blessed are they who have not seen and yet believed. And so we must always remember that, no, we don't have to experience it to believe. We can have faith because that comes from being informed by the Holy Spirit. That's what faith is. It's being informed by the Holy Spirit. We don't have to have that experience to know something. It comes to us in a variety of ways, you know?
No, absolutely. No, I agree with that. I was the same way. I did a lot of conversational prayer and talking, but it is cool when you have those things. I don't really ask for stuff.
Absolutely. Yes.
But it's really nice. It's just, a kind of, I guess, a love flow. So at 9, that's pretty deep stuff. So
But
that's pretty cool.
It was. And then I didn't have anything like that again
Okay.
until the age of 22. And then, of course, it's been going ever since, and I'm 56 now. And ironically, this speaks really well into this film, this documentary film that we released, At the Feet of the Masters.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about that.
This is really a labor of love, because what we did was, and this is Brian Malum, Mysteries Productions, he's my producer, and we've done quite a few projects together now. We still have some in the can, so to speak, that are coming, and we're going to do some others together as well. But At the Feet of the Masters was based on one of my books by the same name, which is a book which contains images. And of course, all of my books are written because I was given the title and the energy of the idea of the book in an out-of-body experience. And At the Feet of the Masters was actually given to me by Hazur Sawan Sinj, who is a Sikh master, came to me in an out-of-body experience and told me I needed to write this book. So I wrote this book. It was 10, 15 years ago. And this book is actually primarily a book of images. It has images of the great masters of many different world religious traditions. And you experience being at the feet of these masters. And what we tried to do in the film was to capture the understanding and the essence of what does that mean, because it is said and has been said throughout the ages that a soul can gain more by spending a few minutes looking into the eyes of a true master than by studying for decades any great text. And that is because...
Why do you think that? Yeah, why is that?
That is because there is a transfer of vibration, of energetic knowledge from the master, the guru, to disciple. And this is what Christ also did when he was incarnate here. It's what he also does when he visits souls on earth, and what he brings to each of us in the mystical. But what he does, even when we look upon images of him, like you shared yours, I have mine, or even the words, his words are more than information. They're living words. They contain energy.
Right.
And so when we talk about being at the feet of the masters, and what we did in the film was we tried to draw you away from this technological world for a bit and allow you to just experience what it means to sit at the feet of hundreds of these masters of all these different paths, hear their words, look into their eyes, and receive of that energy.
Right.
And that's what the two films hope to do.
I want to make a point to kind of validate even more what you're saying. We were actually kind of just talking about this pre-show, and it was Ephesians 5:13. But everything exposed by the light becomes visible, and everything that is illuminated becomes light. And you're talking about that transference of that energy. That is not just the words and teaching, but living words.
Exactly.
And what did Jesus call his words? He called it the living waters, which is him to flow through you. So it's that transference of I guess, spiritual wisdom.
Right. And he also called himself the Word.
Yeah,
And what
he
is
was the
that?
Word, right?
He was the Word.
He
And
was
what
the
is the
Word.
Word? The Word contained the power to transform, to transmute, and to alter us into a higher state of being. And that is what sitting at the feet of the masters provides for us. And this is why, like in certain traditions, even like Hindu, Jain, Sikh, there is such an emphasis on sitting at the foot of the master. It's because there is a transformative moment between the guru and the disciple. Another book that I wrote years ago was the in the overview series. It's the 52 Soto Zen ancestors, the transmission of the 52 Soto Zen ancestors. And this is the actual moments from Shakyamuni Buddha all the way to present day of each of the transmitters of Soto Zen Buddhism. And so there is a moment in time when Shakyamuni Buddha passed on energetically his enlightenment teaching to his successor, who would be called a patriarch. And then there would be another moment when that patriarch passed that along to the next. And there is this record of each of those moments, and there is a beautiful story behind each one of what they said, what they experienced, that every soul can read and meditate on and can be completely transformed by each of these moments. It can be compared in some respects, but it's still different when we have the succession, the line of the popes from the time of Christ to Peter, to Clement, and then all the way to Pope Francis today. We have a line of succession, and there is a moment of transmission between each that occurs. And so this is kind of the same thing when we're talking about sitting at the feet of the masters, but we forget that each and every one of us as an individual can do this. We don't have to, fly to India or to Nepal or to the Vatican or to the Holy Land. We can actually partake of these energies even by looking into the eyes of a great master in a photograph, or hearing a few of the words by seeing them on film, by seeing the places on film. We have so much
that makes
these
sense.
days that we are so blessed to have, because
the technology,
many of us haven't, I have not been able to take a trip to the Holy Land, but I've taken many by film.
Yeah.
So we have energetically been able to go via film. We can also obviously go in the out-of-body travel state.
Yeah,
but
I was going to ask you about that.
We forget, though, that through technology, we have these other means of creating these experiences energetically that assist us in these vibrational shifts.
I think this is good news for people, because some may say, look, I'm working on the meditation. I'm not really sure about my astral state, about traveling and out of body travel. And I think most of us do at night, at least sometimes. We definitely do that. I think we get bored and we do. Problem is we don't always remember that. That's why I'm a big fan of always keeping a journal, so you can wake up and you can write that down. I think that's important. But I love the fact that what you're saying is that we're talking about spiritual truth and knowledge that is that is given as a gift, that has a certain divine energy that comes with that. And you're saying just by seeing those people or those words, there's a transference of transfer of knowledge, of energy on some level. It's funny because I was looking into the eyes of on the cover of Yogananda.
Yeah.
And then I heard, of course, I'm also, I'm a medium and a channeler. I heard, he loves me too. He loves me like you do. And I went, okay, maybe I should look into this guy. But I looked at him and I saw a compassion that I don't see with a lot of people, a deep compassion for humanity, and a real childlike love for people. Just looking at him, there was just something that I got like, wow. He has something that I don't. It's just a deeper level of something.
Well, yeah. And, with Paramahamsa Yogananda, I have such a deep, abiding respect. And I had many, and I've written about them. Most of them, I believe, were in my book called Galactica, a treatise on death, dying, and the afterlife. But I had many experiences with Paramahamsa Yogananda. And so he acted as my guru for a time, and taught me many very deep ways that were meaningful and direct and very important. One of which I'll just very simple. Yeah. I'll just do the simple for everybody here, which was he would often come and show me. He would show me that my face was looking forward on the ground, and he would come and he would touch my chin and lift my head up and point out I needed to look towards the heavens more. He would do simple things like this.
Oh, that is
very
so sweet.
Profound things. Simple, profound, gentle, beautiful, beautiful, amazing soul. I can't put into words my admiration for Paramahamsa Yogananda and deep love.
Right.
And go ahead.
So if people want to connect, because and they're listening to this, like, I want, the film is that going to be released soon so they can look at it?
The film has been released. It's already there. And we are go to the website at outofbodytravel.org, and everything's there. But our video links are at the footer of the site. Click on our Rumble links to feature films, and you can see both parts too at the feet of the masters. And just allow yourself to really relish that experience. I think you'll find it really helpful. Another thing about
this is free to people.
Yes, absolutely. Free.
I mean, you're doing all this, so much of this. I mean, you can purchase your books. I purchased 3. I still have 101 to go. And they're very affordable, but you have a lot of free information, free things, free exercises to help people spiritually expand and feel comfortable with themselves and connecting to the divine. And I love that about you, that you're always trying to offer things to people that they can be a part of. I wanted to also explain, I don't know if people really understand out-of-body travel. How does that work? I think some people are having it and they don't realize it. So maybe could you explain how that works? And then also, how, at what point, why you set, in 2003, the Out-of-Body Travel Foundation up, and what were you aiming to do with that?
Well, with out-of-body experiences, if you're having a fully conscious out-of-body experience, you're going to know it. It's a powerful experience. The vibrations are so strong. It's not something you're going to miss. So, but what you can have is you can have precursors to the experience. You can have flying dreams. You can have spiritual dreams. You can have things that are leading up to out-of-body experiences and not realize that that's what's happening, and miss opportunities where you can actually open up more to this sort of thing. Ironically, we recently also released a 3-part seminar. And so it's on how to have an out-of-body experience. Click on the Rumble link for seminars, and you can watch the whole thing there. And it's going to talk to you about all these subtle things that you can look for in your dreams and in your dream states, and also in your waking states, and all the preparation, all of it.
That's fantastic. That is so amazing you're doing that.
Yeah, and we will be releasing a film probably within the next month or two on how to have an out-of-body experience. So that's already in the works. It's all in the can. We're just putting it together. So that's all Brian Malum Mysteries Productions. I want to give him a shout out because he is doing all that work behind the scenes now. And I'm very appreciative of all of his devotion to that work. And so that's very helpful. But yeah, you know, I started the Out-of-Body Travel Foundation in 2003, in part as a response to something that Mother Teresa had said. And she had said that the spiritual poverty that she saw in the West was worse than the physical poverty in the East. And I said, wow. Yeah. And so, you know, the Out-of-Body Travel Foundation began with the idea of reducing spiritual poverty worldwide. And, you know, so everything that we have is available for free download. Our books, our CDs, our music, our meditations, our film, everything we have. You can go to the website at outofbodytravel.org. We even have a course of study. We have a ton of seminars. You can watch them all for free at the website on the initiations into the mysteries, the rites of passage, how to have the out-of-body experiences, and more, lots more. A lot of feature films now. We have, I believe, a total of 5 feature films, and we have more coming. So, and we just released 2 books just in the last, few months. The Lord of the Redemption. We released this is the 3rd book in the Redemption series. It's Hermetic Archtronics, the Saviors, and the Tachyon Teachings in Out-of-Body Travel. This is, you know, one of my favorite books. I say that about everyone as I, you know, finish writing them. But I really enjoyed writing this book because it goes into the tachyon fields. And so, you know,
explain tachyon. Explain to those watching tachyon.
Well, the tachyon fields, you know, one of our sub things with the Out-of-Body Travel Foundation is also traveling at the speed of light. And, you know, the tachyon fields are the particles that travel beyond the speed of light. And so the Lord of the Redemption moves into those fields that are traveling far beyond the speed of light. These are the worlds. So let's get quiet here, because these worlds are so amazing, you know.
You mean like super universes, other dimensions?
Yeah, truly.
Going really far, yeah.
This is the places. Okay. These are the places. We're talking about at the feet of the masters, so this really, really is important. These are the worlds where those masters go. This is the next step. This is where they go when they have ascended this realm, when they are finished here. This is where we go if we finish here. If we're not recycling, if we're not going to come back and do more karmic recycling, when we have finished what we have come here to do, the tachyon fields, oh my gosh, and it is so beautiful and blissful, and the vibration.
So it's like the heaven realms.
No.
It's beyond that.
It's not.
Okay, explain it then.
This is not something I'm going to explain, Tamara.
Okay.
It is something I'm going to ask
Get the book.
I'm going to ask you to feel it. I want you to.
Okay, sure. Okay, I'll feel it. I
want you to feel it.
Okay, so, I'm ready.
I want you to feel it. So everyone, I want you to be quiet. Just total silence. When you're in the tachyon fields, there is no sound. There is only a vibration beyond all thought, all words, all feelings, all emotions. And this vibration, for those who have their eyes open, they're going to see that I'm coming down with my arms in a triangular fashion. Bzzz. This vibration is one of adoration. All life resonates in utter adoration of God in the tachyon fields. It is the most beautiful thing beyond. It is beyond the heavenly realms. It is beyond the pure lands. It is something that I cannot ever put into words. I've only been there a few times now, and I long to return every night. I want to go back.
Wow. Well, so I'm trying to feel it. And what I got was this. I got solitude, stillness, and I got a reverence. And I got this feeling of, I want to say a really low grade hum, like like a hum. And it's very peaceful. And that's all I got. And it was just serene and peaceful.
It is all those things and more. And it is the vibration of it is not something that we as human beings can truly encompass or understand. And so we just kind of sit and stand in awe of it.
So let me ask you, this is a great time to kind of bring these together. I know you've written books on out-of-body traveling and also the afterlife. You know, I'm a 6-time near-death experiencer. Certain states where you have the godlike experience in the white light or whatever you want to call it. Some people have tunnels. Some people meet ascended masters, family angels, and so forth. And then you also have some that's darkness, but in that darkness, it's not scary. It's a peace to it. And it's a stillness. So
you're talking about near-death experiences, right?
Near-death experiences. Yeah. And to me, some of these realms you're talking about are some of these realms that these near-death experiencers have been to. Now, I left out, there are lower vibration realms. I'm not really interested in those. Why? What's the point? But, you know, they're there.
There is a point, and we can talk about it if you want, but there is a point, and it is very important. But we can put that aside for right now, and you tell me what your question is, and we'll go there.
Oh, okay. Well, I want to hear your important thing about, I said low vibration. You said it's important. I'd rather hear what you got to say. I'm like, sounds good. Tell me.
Well, see, this is one of the things that we forget. We forget that we are part of a universal creation, and that whatever we receive, we are deigned to return and give back. And so there is this tendency to perceive that those that reside in a lower vibration, that we don't want to talk about it. It's not important. It's icky. It's whatever. But in reality, it holds the key to our own ascension. Why? Because we are required to give back to creation that which creation gives to us. And therefore, we cannot ignore the lower vibration worlds. We will be asked to serve it in whatever way God so deigns. So, for instance, in my own journeying, I was required and have been required to assist with lost souls and with souls in the hell realms, in the lower spheres, because there are souls who, once they actually make a shift in the lowest of hells, assistance is immediately sent to them from God. The Psalms of David said, in the highest heavens, Lord, you are there. And even in the lowest of hells, Lord, you are there. And what we find is that this is indeed true. So the Lord does send into even the lowest of hell's assistance. And thereby, we are also called, as souls from higher spheres have descended to us here. We must also be willing to descend to give assistance to those who may reside below us, in order to ascend and assist in the entire sphere of creation, which is all working towards the greater good.
Right.
So we cannot forget that we have brothers and sisters, just as our greater brothers and sisters have not forgotten us.
Absolutely. So I noticed that you have all this free information, and you have workshops, and you have the new film, the new documentary that's come out on your website, which is so gracious of both of you, and also the filmmaker doing this to help and be of service, especially during this spiritual transitional change. But you have music and art, and we haven't even talked about that. We've talked about your writings and the wisdom that you've gotten. Can you talk a little bit about your music as well?
Well, when I was traveling in the out-of-body travel state, I would hear music. And so when I would return, I would write the music down, compose it, and then perform it, produce it, and put it together for others to hear, so they could hear what I was hearing in the mystical spheres. And then I also did meditation CDs on some liturgical music as well. And so the music is both liturgical meditational music, as well as the music, like for instance, the Out of Body Travel Foundation hymnal on 5 CDs. That is the music that I heard in the out of body travel states that I brought back, which is like over 100 pieces of music that I heard while traveling out of body. Then there is also one other piece that kind of stands alone, which is called The Frequency of OBEr, the Call of the Angels into Service, which is a CD that was done that is intended. I was shown by the angels exactly how to do it, to mimic the vibrational raisings that are done to a soul as they are working to achieve an out-of-body experience. When we are going through that procedure, we go through multiple vibrational raisings. And the purpose for that is because as you are progressing, your vibration has to be increased so that you can travel to higher and higher spheres. And so this is produced in a way to create the octave effect, to mimic what the angels actually do to us when we are going through the process. So the frequency of OBEr is actually intended to induce the out-of-body experience. And you can listen to that for free at the website at outofbodytravel.org. Yeah.
That's so fantastic. It's funny. One of the things I do before I sleep, I visualize a tube going straight to heaven is what I do, and the angels in it. And then the frequency starts changing, and then the scope of what I'm looking at starts changing, and then the dimension starts changing, and then usually I start traveling. The most interesting thing that's happened recently, I'm like, that's kind of funny, is that I was in this tiny little tube, and I'm like, why am I being squished in this tube? Of course, we're a spirit. We don't need to be squished in anything. And I'm in this tube because you're going further this time. I was like, okay. So, which brings me to other planets. You've been to other planets, and I'd love for you to talk about that, about the alien human contact, because that's some of the stuff that's happening. I don't know why, maybe I'm just nosy, but you've done a lot of this. Can you explain it to our viewers?
Yeah. There has been a lot of that. And I actually have a book in the Mystic Knowledge series called Extraterrestrials, which kind of chronicles a lot of it. Yes, I've had a lot of contact with the Pleiadians, the Arcturians, a group I call the Tibetans, and a group that I don't have a name for because they're so beyond. I don't know where they're from, but they're really cool. And I've seen, some of the others that are more, like the Greys and some of the more mortal type alien beings, and the Alpha Centaurians, and some random ones. I've had a lot of extraterrestrial events. I've been to the Galactic Council. Okay. I've had a lot of other experiences that were extraterrestrial in nature. I had a very lengthy thing with the Pleiadians. I have a very strong connection with the Pleiadians. And I had a lot of experiences regarding the Blessed Mother and Jesus and the Pleiades, which I thought was very interesting in that one of the most beautiful ones was where the mothership had come close to the earth. And there was a woman of some type, a Pleiadian woman, that was going to be coming out from underneath. And there were crowds that were coming to see her. I didn't know who she was or anything, but it was a big deal, you know. So I was like, okay, cool, you know, I want to see who this is. And as I got closer, a big light beam came down, and this beautiful woman adorned in purple and yellow light surrounded. She had a golden crown, gilded crown. She comes down, and then she's walking through this crowd of human people in soul form, in the out-of-body state. She walks into what looked like a Methodist church, ironically, of all things. And I get up close to her, and she turns around, and I see her, and I'm like, they're all calling her the Lady in Light. And I looked at her and I said, oh my God, you're the Blessed Virgin Mary. And I just had this sudden realization that the Blessed Virgin Mary had Pleiadian origins, you know. And years prior to that, I had been shown Pleiadian origins for Christ when I was going through the initiations into the mysteries. And so, you know, I took that in and was, at the time, I was pretty overwhelmed by it. Not anymore, you know, but at the time, it was a revelation to me. And then, you know, but the Pleiadians were just a very loving, unconditionally loving
unity
type.
and love.
Yes, that's what they are. Now, the Tibetans are this, I call them the Tibetans only because they work the most with people in Tibet. And they told me that the people in Tibet were unusually responsive to them, but they actually only had contact with 5 incarnate human beings on Earth. And that was because it was that difficult for humanity to respond to them because their vibrations are so high. And so they allowed me to watch as they were working with some of these people that they do work with. And they told me that they were showing me this just as how hard it is for the beings who are extraterrestrial in origin to work with humanity because there are so few really prepared receptacles for the higher vibrational thrusts. And so there were only 5 at the time that I was allowed to see this. And they were just so high vibrational beings. And I wasn't one of the 5. I was just being allowed to watch this and be informed of it. That's all. I was not one of the 5. And then this other society that I will always hold as being the most fascinating. You know, I had a lot of contact recently too with the Arcturians, and they're really interesting. But
yeah, they're supposed to be the oldest race, the Arcturians.
I would not agree with that. And the reason why would be because of this other race. And this other race, their very existence to me would indicate that there are many other older races that we don't know anything about. You know what I mean?
True, yeah.
So the Arcturians might be an old race, but there's probably, but you know, this is just the nature of God's universe, you know?
Oh yeah, it's vast.
It's just, you know, anytime we try to quantify something, God's like, you know, you thought I was that small, and let me show you that I'm bigger than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so, but true. this one race that I had been introduced to, I was allowed to meet with this. He was a light being, but he was very humanoid. But these beings were so far beyond. They lived in a world. I would say that they were billions of light years beyond the Pleiadians. So you know how the Pleiadians are, right? So they were billions of light years beyond the Pleiadians in terms of a world that lives in a societal structure that resonates only from love. And I was allowed to embrace him. And in so doing, I was transported to their world and was allowed to experience it for like a short period of time, like what might be an hour to me. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And when I had to come back, I was just like, please don't make me go back. Please don't make me. Can I just stay there? It was so beautiful. Everything was just so ensconced in light. Everything was utter and complete harmony. It's like when you've had this contact with the Pleiadians. And so if you can magnify that billions of times and just imagine a resonant hum that's billions of times, it was something that I don't think that I could even really comprehend or put into words. And it wasn't something that could be put into words. When I returned, I was just so moved by it because it was just such a beautiful thing. And it was such a transcendent achievement of consciousness, but they exist out there. And that's partly what I think we are to know, is that these types of achievements exist out there. It is achievable. We're just, we're limited by the nature of our own level of evolution as human beings. And we don't realize, well, we just don't understand that that's just because we are human beings. But our job here is to actually instigate this path of purification that brings about this energetic movement. And that's how our souls begin to move towards what we see these other, extraterrestrial life forms actually creating out there.
And I want to ask you, I mean, this is just an opinion. I mean, you may not know, but I had Sergio Magana on here, who is a Toltec shaman, Toltec, like Aztec calendar, and he was going through his book. It is predicted that within the next 5 or 6 years that we will get proof. We will know that we are not alone. Do you ever sense that or get communication that that's going to appear in our lifetime?
Well, that's cool. I would love to. I think it'd be kind of cool to happen. I think it's funny because I'll answer your question with a few other questions, which are, I think we've already gotten a lot of proof that that's the case. I think the question is, will our governments stop hiding the proof that we have that, because we already have some proof. And then the question is, will they stop hiding it? What will be enough proof? Because, we have seen how mass denial of truth is very effective, it seems, whether it's about extraterrestrial life or spiritual realities or other matters. People can and do reframe reality according to what they're comfortable with. And so if we had literally a landing somewhere in the world that many people saw, because we've had those. We've already had those,
Yeah.
So here's the question. Would it be enough? You know what I mean? Or would it just be, okay, we've got it on film. We had a whole bunch of people that were there. Okay, but we still don't believe it. You know what I mean? So
I think it would have to be something where it would have to hit where it was just common knowledge, like a freaking mothership landing in different, like Independence Day. I think that we have gotten proof that if you look, just recently where I live, it was like 2 months ago, there was a fleet in the local paper. They showed, in the sky. It's not from this world. I think we are being given proof. But are they going to come out? I think what the prediction with the Mayan calendar is that everyone would know.
Well, and that's very interesting.
Yeah.
That's really interesting because I did not hear anything about what you saw there. And see, now, are you in North Carolina, did you say?
North Carolina, yep. And it was actually in Indian Trail, North Carolina. I'm in Charlotte. And it came out, and it was my husband who showed me. I said, what? So I went to on my phone, I clicked, on the local news, and I went, oh my God, there's like 12 of them. And they were like in a thing there. And I'm like, this is crazy, which I have seen outside at night. But, I'm funny, but I'm so skeptical. And I'm looking at the sky, and it's moving here and there and all over. And I'm thinking, wonder if that's a star. It's going over here. Now it's on the other side of the sky. And so, but I have been told by other UFO guests that I've had on that they know you're looking at them, because I had a feeling that they knew I was looking at them.
Yeah.
I think that,
I mean, that's interesting because we are at a point now where things like that, I live in the Phoenix area where the Phoenix lights occurred in 1998. And I wasn't here at that time, but, we have these obvious events, and it's still not enough for people to consider it common knowledge. So,
right. What would it take? That's my question. I don't know.
What would it take? And so that's, that's what I wonder is what would be required for it to become common knowledge?
Well, I can't answer that, because I think that a lot of people, they don't want to change their viewpoints on things. I think that, but as you've seen, there are other species, other dimensions where it's a higher vibration than here. It's actually a good thing. It's not the lower. There's only a couple so-called aliens that I hear that are not so great, but but the majority of them are about love and unity and peace and all these things. So, the Mayan calendar, they work with the Aztec. It's Pleiades. It's Pleiadians. It's a Pleiadian thing. So it goes way back. So we'll see.
Well, and there are some that are, like what you're talking about, that are mortal like we are. So that means that they have the capacity for both good and evil. So they're just like we are. So that's I think what people sometimes misunderstand, where they think, oh, they have to either be higher beings or they have to be evil. And it's like, or they can just be like we are, which means they have both capacities, which means that they can there can be grays, and you can have grays because they're mortal beings, where you can have good grays and then others who are just not good grays. You know what I mean? And just like we have good people and we have not so good people,
And
so
I've heard both of that too. I've heard there's good ones and bad ones. And so that's interesting with your different travels. Gosh, you've done so much. I know we've only got a few minutes left, but I wanted to ask if you could define for people watching the difference between remote viewing and astral travel and out-of-body travel.
Well, it's a great question, because people do mix those up a lot. So, astral travel and out-of-body travel, in terms of what people are referring to and what they mean, it's generally the same. But if you want to get technical about it, out-of-body travel is referring to multiple realm travel. Astral travel, if you're being technical, is referring to travel in the astral realm. The astral realm is the fourth realm, which overlaps the third. So astral travel technically would be traveling in that one-dimensional area. That makes a lot of sense. Right. So out-of-body travel would be more multidimensional, but it's kind of just a technical thing where most people, when they're talking about both, they're talking about the same thing in terms of what they mean. Now, remote viewing is very different from out-of-body travel. Remote viewing is a technique of delineating things from the subconscious. For some reason, people are often confused in thinking that remote viewing has anything at all to do with out-of-body travel. They are very, very different. Remote viewing is an actual practice technique that you learn, and it has to do with actually working with the subconscious mind to look into the future or to look into the present and to delineate actually, psychic type events.
Yes.
But it is not the same. It's not soul travel. It can be where you are, it's really more of a intellectual, mental exercise, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I have a question on the remote viewing. So,
Sure.
like, say I'm doing a reading, and I'm reading, and then the mother is talking about, oh, remember so and so I bought you, blah blah blah, and then she'll take me to the person's apartment, and I'll go, and then I'll say, yeah, she's showing me and describing this thing to me, this brass platter that looks like it's engraved like Indian, and it's on a wooden stand, and I'll explain what the person's apartment looked like, and we'll talk about it because, oh, the mom says, oh, she gave you that. This is very common. That happens a lot. So to me, the way I look at remote viewing, it's more in this physical world where you just go and take a peek is how I've looked at it. Would that be accurate?
More so. It is more that way. Remote viewing is generally used more for things in the physical world. There are targets that are delineated that are usually in the physical world. But it's not always the case, because remote viewers will do targets that are ethereal or sometimes extraterrestrial. It's not like they can't do that, but most of the time remote viewing is used for earthly targets. So yeah, I would say most of the time that is true. Definitely it is more for that purpose most of the time,
Wow. Well, and I think that's a good, that's how I look at it, and basically generally this physical reality, it could be in Egypt, it could be in Colorado, but it's usually something here, and it usually has something to do with you're looking at items or structures or things. And so I know that I'm not the only medium that uses that technique, and I just think it's because, honestly,
go ahead. Sorry.
I was just saying, as a kid, I did that. I think it's because I was bored and nosy.
Well, yeah, and see, remote viewing is different from that, because that's more of the mediumistic part of it, and the remote viewing is actually very analytical. There is this process. There's a discipline. It's very methodical. There's a structure, a method, and all this stuff that is formed around it. I was really surprised as I learned it, all the methods, structures, and analysis that goes with it. It was hard for me just because with the natural gift, you have to kind of rein it in. It was hard for me to do that, but it was a good thing for me to learn to do that. And it is good for people who have the, just the innate gifts to actually learn that as a discipline. But it's very different from the innate gift. So,
that makes sense too. That's helpful, because you have the innate gift that you just kind of go there, and then you have actually training that people do that teach remote viewing. Yes. And what to look at in symbols and structures, and they have a target, and that's a whole thing. So you probably use it loosely like I do, just to go look,
because,
right?
No, because I actually work with a group of remote viewers, so I have to do the controlled remote viewing, and I just recently learned to do ARV too, so I do it that way as well. So I do it with the controlled way. So no, I don't do it that way, but
so if you're working with a group, you would, and that's the proper way, and the proper to do it with the remote viewing. When you do it that way, there's a technique, just like evidential mediumship, there's a technique and blah, blah, blah. But so maybe I'm just out of body traveling. It's so much fun. I enjoy it. So I encourage everybody to out of body travel. Finally, as a wrap up, for those that I'm interested, I want to, get on Marilyn's website. I want to learn how to do this. I want to see these films. I want to see these, I want to learn from your workshops. There may be some people I'm worried. How am I protected with this? I don't really have an issue with that, but I've heard that before. Is there any kind of thing that you can pass along about when you're traveling, protecting your body?
Well, that's a good thing to bring up too. I wrote a couple of books actually in the Mystic Knowledge series. One is called Ghosts and Lost Souls, which will teach people a lot about that. And then spiritual warfare, angels and demons. A lot of people benefit a lot from reading those books to learn, you know, some of the basics. But you definitely do want to go into this with some basic understanding. I tell people if they're just starting out to start out with Come to Wisdom's Door, How to Have an Out-of-Body Experience, and The Mysteries of the Redemption, a treatise on out-of-body travel and mysticism, which are both downloadable for free at my website. And those will gradually take you into this process. But you want to protect yourself with some basic things, and that will be prayers, sacramentals, and things like, some basic prayers like the Our Father, the Apostles' Creed, the Hail Mary. These are all very effective in the spiritual realm. I was very surprised by this because I found that out before I ever became Catholic. It's always good to have a crucifix above your bed where you're going to be practicing. It's always excellent to have holy water near your bed, or to sprinkle your bed with holy water, things like that.
Got my holy water everywhere.
That's always good. Think about doing things like that. You can also, one of the things that ironically Father Chad Ripperberger, who is one of the most well-known exorcists and actually for the Vatican, and he also is the author of the textbook that all the exorcists study from. It's called The Introduction to the Science of Mental Health. And it's like this big. I have it because it's an amazing book. But they all study this book. But he says that playing Gregorian chant quietly in the background is very helpful for protection, because the demons can't stand to listen to it. And the reason why is because Gregorian chant is liturgical music, which means it is prayer. It is prayer. And
that's true.
So you keep it going quietly in the background. You're just sending out protection all around you. So
I love that idea.
Right. So you think about these little things, and you can even, and you will learn a lot too by reading those 2 books in the Mystic Knowledge series, and also even just starting out with Come to Wisdom's Door. It gives you, it's a very short book, Come to Wisdom's Door, and it will give you a list of things you want to do to get started.
Wow. I think that was so helpful, what you just mentioned. And I think there's simple things to put something that you feel comfortable with, a religious icon near you, the Bible, a pendant, whatever.
Right.
You know, if you're a Christian, have the cross above you. And I tell people, if they're ever fearful, I say, play praise music, because the lower vibration thing, they don't like hear like, love you, Jesus. They don't want to hear that. They're like, I don't think so. You know, so these are just good rudimentary type things. And then the books that you offer, and you offer so much. I mean, it just blows my mind that you are offering this for free, just out of the love of your heart and a service to God. That says so much about you as a person.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And ironically, I had an out-of-body experience early on, years ago, right about 2003. And I was met by the prophets, saints, mystics, sages, and ascetics from all the world religions. Paramahamsa Yogananda was in the crowd. It was so awesome. The Old Testament prophets were there. It was so wonderful. And they were all around me. And I was instructed at that time to make everything available for free download, and that all my paperbacks would be available $1 above cost. And that would cover the cost of running the foundation. And that's what I've done ever since.
Right.
And so that's where that came from. And so, another thing that just came to mind too was, I forgot to mention, is incense, essential oils.
Oh, yeah.
Scents. One of the things that I experienced and have talked a lot about in my books and interviews is that, and in fact, one of the books I wrote was called Fragrance Mysticism.
Yeah, I saw that.
In some of these realms that we go to, you smell these beautiful essences of roses and other smells and scents. And ironically, utilizing scent here below actually almost like creates a shrinkage between the earthly realm and some of these higher spheres. It also creates a level of protection for us because we are bringing in the scent of holiness and overshadowing the scent of evil. So even scent provides us with a level of protection. And you know, you'll see in Catholic churches that they always incense the altar and they incense the whole church. And even in the book of Revelation, and this is actually where the Holy Catholic Church got this whole thing, was in the book of Revelation, they were always incensing the altars. And so one of the things we look to is in the scriptures, we see remnants of the things that we do here on earth. And that's one of those remnants of the things that we do here on earth as well.
So now, would you suggest something like, I've been obsessed with the smell of roses lately. I just gotta.
Yes, and roses is the scent of the saints. And you know, you had mentioned when we had talked earlier about Padre Pio, many people report smelling roses when Padre Pio is around, or when Saint Therese of Lisieux or other saints. Roses is often associated with the saints. So roses, flowers, lavender.
Lavender is what I get with Jesus. So I love lavender, but now I'm into roses. And I also bathe with, like, people need to know this, but I have this, like, you're like, thank you, Tamara. But it raises my vibration. It does.
I understand that. Yes.
Frankincense and myrrh. I have soap.
Yes.
And myrrh.
See, now I don't bathe with it, but I have frankincense and myrrh
You can.
all around the house. If I had it, I would. If I had something in a soap, I would find a way to do it. You know,
I mean, it
I have it
smells really good.
all around the house. I use a lot of lavender in the bathtubs and stuff, but I have a lot of frankincense and myrrh around the house.
Yeah.
And then you can use, like, I use a lot of, like, for my, what are those things? You know, those not incense, but the essential oil burners.
Yeah, I love
those.
Use
patchoulis.
Yeah, I like that too. I like the smell. And sandalwood is great. I'll mix sandalwood, frankincense, and myrrh, and I'll put lavender in there. Sometimes I'll put a little bit of orange. I just, there's certain smells that I like, but for me, for my cleansing my body, I look at it every time that the water is a cleansing and it's a spiritual experience for me. So the frankincense and myrrh, I love that. And I also like roses. And I don't know why this is the past couple years I've been obsessed that I have to bathe with this. But I feel like my vibration is raised by using these things.
Yes, and you know, another one that I always love is cherry blossoms, which is very associated with the Zen tradition as well.
Yeah.
And so, you know, so what you do is you kind of just look at what are you drawn to and what is, you know, and you know, it will change because we go through stages in our spiritual life. So, you know, like I said, I went through lavender for a long time. I love lavender. Too. I'll keep doing it forever. But I then went through cherry blossoms, you know, and so I'm going to move around a little bit, you know, but there's a reason why we do that. It's because there is actually a healing and an atoning quality between the earth and the heavens that actually assists us not only in our protection spiritually, but also makes it easier for us to actually seek out these higher consciousness experiences. And people often don't think of that, but it actually is part of the whole kit and caboodle, so to speak.
I cannot believe we brought this up because this is a private part of me that's a big deal. Like like you said, I was obsessed for years and years with lavender. And when I sense Jesus around, he smells like lavender. It's just me. When Mother Mary's around, it's roses.
Yes, so, and that makes sense. You know, Rosa Mystica. She's called Rosa Mystica, the mystical rose. You know, so that makes perfect sense. Yes.
Yeah. So, and it gives me peace, you know, and even though I was not raised Catholic or anything, you know, I still know who Mary Mother is, the Holy Mother. Are you kidding? And it gives me a lot of peace because I know that she loves to be, especially around women and children a lot. She's, she does have a mothering quality. So,
yes,
she's kind of like the mother you never had, you know, not that I don't love my mom, but she's just a mother to so many people.
right.
So, but look, I just, everything you've given is so comprehensive, is so in depth, and you presented it in a way that's doable and not frightening, but kind of part of our birthright to just to be able to these beautiful higher realms we can go to in a meditative state. And you've explained how to do this. So I just can't be more grateful for your time and everything that you've done. Now tell people again, the best way to get a hold of you is through the outofbodytravel.org.
Well, it's actually outofbodytravel.org. And we are the Out of Body Travel Foundation. And, you know, a new thing that we did add to the site just for everybody to check out is a new social page. So you can check out all of our social networks there. And we're encouraging everyone to join all of our social networks. That really helps us out. We do have our new Rumble channels. And I'd like to ask you to subscribe to all of our Rumble channels because it works a little different than YouTube in that if you want to get notified of all of our new videos, you need to subscribe to each of those channels, and they are linked at the footer of our page at Out of Body Travel Foundation. Make sure that you like us on Facebook and join our Facebook group. And if for some reason you're removed by a bot, please re-like and rejoin. That's just something that's going on that we can't control, but you can really help us out by just re-liking and rejoining. Also, write book reviews for us on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. If you're able to write those reviews, put those up on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and send them to me at Marilynn Hughes at outofbodytravel.org, and I'll get them up on the website as well. We are having issues with, you know, good reviews being removed on Amazon and bad reviews being retained. So for those of you who can submit reviews, please do so. That's very helpful for us. And if you are unable to submit reviews, contact them and let them know, because that's the remedy that they are telling us is the one we should pursue. So all those things are great. Go to the new social page and you'll see we have like 20 or 30 social networks. Join all of them. That really helps us out a lot, because that means that no matter what happens, we can all still keep in touch.
Absolutely. And that's why I'm saying, you know, we live in a crazy world these days. I can't explain everything, but I guess it was last July, I was censored off for a few months on Facebook. I have no idea why. I did not get involved. You know, we just live in a crazy world. It actually was a real bonus for me because it gave me an opportunity to start this. So it was okay. But the main thing is we do need to stay connected. And really with what, Marilynn, you're doing, and also I want to, you know, credit your filmmaker too, helping you with these things.
Brian Mysteries Productions.
Is that the very least, you know, it's free, is just like and make nice comments and support them and support this channel too. That's how you can show your strength and numbers and make your voice known. It makes a difference. And then I would say on mine, sign up for my newsletter on southernbellemedium.com, because you're going to get these things. You're going to find out when new episodes and what's going on in events. It's still me, but the best way, that way we're connected. And then you're going to be putting that also up on your website too, just so you can get people's email and stay connected, just because, you know, the world's changing. I don't know what's going on. You know, I don't have all the secrets to the universe. And so this way we can still continue this fun conversation. But look, you have been a blessing, and
it's been great to meet you, Tamara. I'd love to do that too. This has been fun, and I'm really glad to meet a sister in the spirit. And so So this has been great.
You have touched my heart, and what you're doing. I mean, you're such a dynamo. I feel like I need to get on the stick more with my book. So 104, I need to at least get the one out. So look, support this channel, support Marilynn with what she's doing and all her endeavors, and all her information will be below. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Take care now. Bye-bye.